Hare Krishna. So, welcome everyone. We'll begin with our prayers. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuronmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manavishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजना सहितं कृष्ण चैतन्य देवं श्री राधा कृष्ण पादान् सहगणा ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्त राधा कान्त नमोस्तुते तप्त काञ्चन गौरांगी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामी नितिनामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. Hare Krishna. So welcome everyone. We are discussing from Srimad Bhagvatam. We are on Canto 2, Chapter 9. And in this chapter, Brahma is being instructed by Supreme Lord. So this is the answer to the second question of Shukdev of Parikshit Maharaj. What is the difference between the Lord and the living entity? So Parikshit Maharaj in the 8th chapter asked so many questions, and in response to that, Sukadeva Goswami said, the first question was, how can the relationship between Jiva and the matter happen? Because living entities are spiritual, matter, material. So how can matter and spirit combine? How can there be interaction between them? So Shukadeva Goswami says, actually there is no connection. It is all a dream state. And then regarding second question, he quotes a conversation between Lord and Brahma himself. So there, Shukadeva Goswami describes that Brahma, as he appeared from the navel of the Lord, he is wondering what he is supposed to do and how he is supposed to create, how he is about to do his seva. So then he hears the words tapa, tapa. First of all, he tries to find the source of his lotus. And then ultimately he comes back and he sits on the lotus. He hears the word tapa, tapa. He does tapasya for 1000 celestial years. And the Lord appears. He shows him the spiritual world. And then he tells him that I was the one who spoke this tapa, tapa. You are so fortunate. And then Brahmaji asks few questions. He says, please tell me about your material and spiritual forms. And how do you interact with these material and spiritual forms? So that is, and then he says, how do these energies, they interact? And then the next question is, so first is the material and the spiritual form, then the working of lords, different energies, how does the Yogamaya and Mahamaya act, and then how does these energies are related to the Lord. And then the last question he asks is, please guide me so that I can serve without pride and lethargy. So this is the Chatushloki. The answer to these questions, they form the Chatushloki Bhagavatam. And last time we discussed in great detail the Chatushloki, and we completed till 37th verse. So after describing 33, 34, 35, 36, he tells in 37 how to understand the deep meaning of Chatushloki, how to practice it. He says, follow my instructions in detail, with extreme concentration, paramena samadhina. And in this way, bhavan kalpa vikalpeshu. During your lifetime and in the subdivisions of your lifetime, whatever activities I'll do, you will not be bewildered. So he says, practice with concentration and sincerity, and then you will achieve success. So that's what Lord tells. And then in 38th verse, the Lord disappears. So we'll start from the 38th verse. Sri Shuka Uvacha Sampradishyevam Ajano. Nobody's speaking. Jananam Parameshtinam
Jananam Paramesthit
Pashyatastasya Tadrupam
Pashyatasya Tadrupam
Atmano Nirunadharihi.
Atmano Niruddhanihi. Sukadeva Goswami said through Maharaj Parikshit, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Hari, after being seen in his transcendental form, instructing Brahmaji, the leader of the living entities, disappeared.
So the Lord disappeared. Sampradishyevam, fully instructing Brahma, that Supreme Lord who is unborn, and he instructed this knowledge to Parameshti. Parameshti is Brahmaji. So as Brahma was still looking at the Lord disappeared. Nirunat. Nirunat means disappeared. So Prabhupada elaborates on this word. He describes some details about this. Who is the Lord? Is Nirunad, Ajanaha. Prabhupada says Lord is Ajana, he is transcendental. And while instructing, he was showing his transcendental form to Brahmaji. Atmanurupam means transcendental form in the summarization of Srimad Bhagvatam in 4 verses. He is Ajanaha, or the supreme person among the Jananam. Nityo Nityanam Chetanas Chetananam. So in that way, Supreme Lord gave instructions to Brahma, and then after instructing, the Lord disappeared. So then after disappearance of the Lord, so what Brahma did, that is described from 39th verse onwards. Antarhitendriyarthaya
Antarikendriyataya
Haraye Vihitanjalihi
Haraye Vivitanjalihi
Sarvabhutamayo Vishwam
Sarvabhutamaya Vishwam
Sasarjedam Sapurvavat.
Sasarjedam Saspurvavat. On the disappearance of Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, who is the object of transcendental enjoyment for the senses of devotees, Brahma, with folded hands, began to recreate the universe full with living entities as it was previously.
So as it was previously, that means the universe, they are created and destroyed, again and again. So, and as we know, that when Lord Brahma sleeps also, there is a partial devastation. So, Antarhitendriya Arthaya, when the Supreme Lord disappeared from the senses, from the vision of Brahmaji, so Vivihitanjali, the Brahmaji folded his hands and he began to Sasarjedam. Sasarjedam means he started creating again. So Prabhupada writes, Supreme Lord Hari is the object of fulfilling the senses of all living entities. So Prabhupada is elaborating on the word Indriya Arthaya. So Indriya Arthaya means the Lord is the objective of all the senses. So if living entities want to see so many different things and enjoy so many different things, with various senses, but actual object of all the senses which will give permanent satisfaction is Krishna. That is the ultimate object of all the senses. It is said, Akshno phalam tva drishadarshanam hi jihva tano phalam tva drishagatra sanga jihva phalam tva drishakirtanam hi sudurlabha bhagavata hi loke. Akshno phalam, the perfection of the senses, the eyes, is to see the beautiful form of the Lord and to take darshan of the devotees of the Lord. Tano phalam, the perfection of the body is to serve the devotees. Jihva phalam, the perfection of the tongue is to glorify devotees. That's how devotees are so very rare. Sudurlabha bhagavata hi loke. So Prabhupada writes that originally the senses are meant for this purpose. Prabhupada is quoting this. Originally, the senses of the Lord are awarded for this purpose, namely to engage in service of the Lord and service to the devotees of the Lord. So that is the perfection of the senses. Therefore, the whole process of God consciousness is meant to rectify the conditional activities of the senses and engage them in direct service of the Lord. All the senses, they are meant to serve the Lord. And that is the only way which will bring satisfaction to the senses. All the other senses, they will be satisfied only when they are in touch with Krishna. Sarvendriya gunanjanam rupam bhagavato yattat manah kantam shuchapaham. The mind will be satisfied only when we meditate on the forms of the Lord, on the pastime of the Lord. And similarly, the eyes, the ears, they are satisfied only when we hear the glories of the Lord and see the form of the Lord. Nivritta tarishay rupagiyamana bhavaushadha shrotra manobhirama. Shrotra mana, mind and the ears will be satisfied when we hear the glories of the Lord. When we take darshan of the Lord, eyes will be satisfied. When we meditate on the form of the Lord and pastimes of the Lord, the mind will be satisfied. Similarly, it is described about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also. Chaitanya Gosaira Lila Amriter Sar Sarvendriya Tripta Hoye Shravane Ahar. Just by hearing the pastimes of Mahaprabhu, all the senses are satisfied. Prabhupada continues. Lord Brahma engaged in his senses in the Lord by recreating the conditioned living beings. This universe is created and annihilated by the will of the Lord. It is created to give the conditioned soul a chance to act, to return back to Godhead. And servants like Brahma, Narada, Vyas, they are busy with the same purpose. So the Lord and the devotees of the Lord, they appear for this one reason only, to reclaim the fallen conditioned souls. That's the purpose. And that will satisfy the senses. And then Prabhupada says, if somebody, instead of serving the Lord, tries to serve himself, he will not be happy and satisfied. That is improper treatment for the conditioned soul. The diseased condition of the senses may be treated by curing the defect, but not uprooting the senses altogether. So, as Mayavadis, they say we have to stop the activities of all our senses. We have to enter in a space where there is no thinking, there are no desires. It is not possible. We cannot live without desiring. Desires have to be there. We have to see something, we have to feel something, we have to think. So Prabhupada writes, plucking out the eye is not treatment. If the eye is diseased, we have to cure it. We cannot just stop seeing. We cannot say, okay, this eye is diseased, pluck out the eye. No. Similarly, Prabhupada writes, the whole material disease is based on the process of sense gratification. And liberation from disease condition is the engagement of the senses to see the beauty of the Lord, hear the glories of the Lord, and act on his account. Ekam shastram devaki putra gitam eko devo devaki putra eva eko mantrastasya namani yani karmapi ekam tasya devasya seva. So that is the understanding. Okay, so then after Lord disappeared, so what happened? Brahmaji, he started procreating. 40th verse. Prajapatir dharmapatir
प्रजापतिर्धर्मपतिर्
ekada niyaman yaman
एकदा नियमान्
bhadram prajanam anvichan
भद्रं प्रजानाम् अन्विच्छम्
atishtat swartha kamyaya.
आतिष्ठ स्वार्थकामया.
Thus, once upon a time, a forefather of living entities and the father of religiousness, Lord Brahma, situated himself in acts of regulative principles, desiring self-interest for the welfare of all living entities.
So once the Lord, who is Prajapati, Brahma is called as Prajapati. He is Prajapati and he is Dharmapati also. He is the Lord of Dharma. So what he did? Prajanam Bhadram Anvicha. He desired welfare and benefit of all the humanity, not just humanity, all the living entities. So what he did? Niyaman, Yaman, Atishtat. He followed the rules and regulations. Swa Artha Kamyaya, to fulfill his desires. His desire was to do welfare activity, so he followed all the rules and regulations and he started working. Prabhupada writes that one cannot be situated in exalted position without undertaking a regulative life. So Brahma himself, he did such tapasya, he followed this regulative principles. So if Brahma does it, how can we, how can somebody say, no, I don't need all the rules and regulations. I can do this without following any rules and regulations. So Prabhupada writes, anyone desiring the welfare of the members of family and generation must conduct a moral, religious life. The highest life of moral principles is to become a devotee of the Lord. Because the pure devotee of the Lord has all the good qualities. So a devotee naturally follows all the rules and regulations. It is not that a devotee is beyond rules and regulations. Devotee naturally follows all the rules and regulations. He doesn't have to be told that you have to follow the rules and regulations. Just like Brahma, the foremost of the people, he is Prajapati and Dharmapati. He is the first personality and he is a Lord of Dharma. He is following and setting example. Yadyad acharati sreshta tatta deve tarojana. So then, after this, previously we heard Narad Brahma Samvad. Actually, chronologically, Narad Brahma Samvad happened after Chatushloki was revealed to Brahmaji. But in Bhagavatam, we hear Narad Brahma Samvad first and then Chatushloki comes. But first, Brahmaji heard from the Lord and then later he explained to Narad Muni. So that's what is described in 41st and 42nd verses. Tam Naradaha Priyatamo
तं नारदः प्रियतमो
Riktadanam Anuvrataha
रिक्तादानम् अनुव्रतः
Shushrushamana Shilena
शुश्रूषमाणः शीलेन
Prashrayena Damena Cha.
प्राश्रयेण दमेन च.
Narada, the most dear of the inheritor sons of Brahma, always ready to serve his father, strictly follows instructions of his father by his mannerly behavior, meekness, and self control.
So that's how Narad Muni he followed. He's the word is Shushrushamanaha and Sheela. So he is always ready to serve and Shilena by good behavior, Prashrayena by meekness, Damena, sense control. So these are the qualities needed for a disciple. A person who wants to follow the instructions of the teacher, they should have these qualities. It comes in the first canto. When Narad Muni is a small boy, he meets Bhaktivedantis, and they come, and Narad Muni is a small boy who was serving him. There it is described that Narad Muni says, I had 6 qualities by which I advanced quickly. Tasyaiva me anuraktasya, prashritasya, hatainashaha, shraddadhanasya, dantasya, balasya, anucharasya cha. Tasyaiva me anurakta, I was attached to devotees. Prashrita, I was obedient. Hatainasha, sinless. Shraddadhanasya, I was faithful. Danta, I was sense controlled. And Anuchara, I was a faithful follower, obedient follower. So these are the qualities needed, and Narad Muni had all these qualities. He strictly followed, he was obedient. Then humble, sense control, similar, almost similar qualities are described. So the word used here is Riktha Danam. Riktha Danam means inheritor sons. So Narad Muni was the dearmost son who inherited the property of Brahma. So what was the property inherited by Narad Muni? Anyone can guess? What was the property inherited by him?
Vedic knowledge, na Prabhu? Vedic knowledge.
Vedic knowledge? Not just Vedic knowledge. Okay, Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur writes about this. Riktha means inheritance. Riktha Dan means a son who inherits the wealth of father. So Narad was the dearest son of Brahma. Among the wealth of, there are 3 types of wealth: karma, jnana, and bhakti. So karma yoga and jnana yoga, they were given to Daksha and all the other sons. Daksha was given karma, and all the other sons were given jnana. But Narad Muni, he was the dearest. He was given bhakti yoga. Kumaras, they got jnana. Daksha got karma yoga. But Narad Muni obtained bhakti yoga. That is the best part, because of his outstanding qualities, which Chakravarti Thakur writes, because he had such wonderful qualities of mannerly behavior, meekness, sense control. That's why he inherited this property. Prabhupada writes about that in the 42nd verse purport. We'll recite this. Mayam vividishan Vishnor
Mayam vividishan
Mayeshasya Mahamunihi
Mayeshasya Mahamuni
Mahabhagavato Rajan
Mahabhagavato Rajan
Vitaram Paryatoshayat.
Vitaram Paritoshayat.
Narada very much pleased his father and desired to know all about the energies of Vishnu, the master of all energies. For Narada was the greatest of all the sages and the greatest of all devotees, O king.
Okay, so this Mayam, the energies, Narad Muni, he very much pleased his father. Pitaram Paryatoshayat. Paryatoshayat means completely pleased his father by all these qualities: meekly behavior, sense control, meekness, mannerly behavior. He very much pleased his father, and he wanted to know Vividishan. He wanted to know about Maya of Vishnu, about the energies of Vishnu, who is Mayeshasya, Maya Ishasya. Lord is the Isha, controller of Maya, and Narad Muni wanted to know all about the energies of the Lord. So this Narad Muni, he was Mahabhagavato. He was the greatest of sages, and he was the greatest of the devotee also. Prabhupada writes about this. Brahma, being the creator of all, is originally the father of several sons like Daksha, Chatu Kumaras, and Narada. In three departments of human knowledge, namely Karma Kand, Jnana Kand, Upasana Kand, Devarshi Narad inherited the devotional service. Daksha inherited Karma Kand, and Chatush Kumaras inherited Jnana. So Narada is described as the most beloved son because of his good behavior, obedience, meekness, and readiness to render devotional service. That's why he's the greatest of the sages. And Narad is the spiritual master of many famous devotees, Prahlad, Dhruva, Vyas, and down to the lowest of the people, Kirata, Hunandra, Pulinda, all these, like Brigari. So that's how he pleased his Guru, Brahmaji, and inquired from him. What did he inquire? 43rd verse. Tushtam nishamya pitaram
तुष्टं निशाम्यं पितरं
lokanam prapitamaham
लोकानां प्रपितामहं
devarshihi paripapracha
देवर्षि परिप्रच्छ
bhavan yadmanu pritchati.
भवान्
Yadmanupritchati.
यन्मनुपृच्छति.
The great sage Narada also inquired in detail from his father Brahma, the great grandfather of all universe, after seeing him well satisfied.
Okay, so Narad Muni, he asked the Lord actually the same questions which Parikshit Maharaj asked Shukdev Goswami. So that is how it is coming in parampara. Tushtam nishamya. Nishamya means he saw that his father Pitaram, he was tushtam, he was satisfied. So Devarshi Narad, he asked him, Paripapracha, what you have asked me, Yad Bhavan Anuprichati. So whatever you are asking me, Shukdev Goswami is telling Parikshit Maharaj that whatever questions you have asked, Narad Muni asked the same questions to Brahma, which we discussed in Brahma Narad Samvad from 2.5, 6, 7, these three chapters. So after Brahma, he had darshan of the Lord, then Brahmaji told Narad Muni all that, and that's what Shukdev Goswami is telling to Parikshit Maharaj now, that whatever questions you have asked me in the 8th chapter, Narad Muni asked everything to the Supreme Lord, to Brahmaji. So that's how Parikshit Maharaj also asks questions to Shukdev Goswami after satisfying him. Just like Narad Muni, he satisfied Brahma. The word used is tushtam, parayatoshayat. Narad Muni pleased Brahma and then asked. Similarly, Parikshit Maharaj also pleased Shukdev Goswami. And he used the word tamo vishiryate mahyam hare kathayatah katham. Please speak the glories of the Lord, because this is dispelling my intelligence. This is dispelling my doubt, which is there in my intelligence. So Prabhupada writes, he quotes this verse, Tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya. Prabhupada writes, the schoolmasters in modern days are paid, but spiritual master is not a paid agent, nor can he impart instruction without being authorized. So spiritual master, Prabhupada writes the last line, this paragraph. The spiritual master's satisfaction is the means for assimilating transcendental knowledge. One cannot understand transcendental knowledge simply by becoming a grammarian. A person who knows grammar is not qualified to become a guru. One time, Swarup Damodar Goswami Maharaj, he brought a Hindi professor, and this professor was talking to Prabhupada, and he asked, so Swamiji, what is the etymological meaning of the word surrender? Sarva dharman parityajya, surrender. What is the meaning of that? So Prabhupada was explaining something, and then he said, no, Swamiji, what is the etymological meaning? So after explaining so many things, He was not even ready to accept whatever Prabhupada was saying. He said, I want etymological. Prabhupada said, you don't need a guru. You need a grammar teacher. Go. You go to someone else. You don't need a guru. So that's what Prabhupada is writing here. One cannot understand transcendental knowledge simply by becoming a grammarian. Yasya deve para bhakti yatha deve ratha guru tasyaite kathita hi artha prakashante mahatmana. So all the imports of the Vedas are revealed to a person who has devotion to the Lord and spiritual master. So Prabhupada writes in the further purport the importance of disciplic succession. One who is now the disciple is the next spiritual master. One cannot be a bona fide spiritual master unless he has been strictly obedient to his spiritual master. That is parampara. And then after a few lines, Prabhupada writes, one who is not self-controlled, specifically in sex life, can neither become a disciple nor a spiritual master. One must have disciplinary training in controlling speaking, anger, tongue, mind, belly, and genitals. Then he is called as Goswami. Which verse Prabhupada is paraphrasing here? Anyone knows which verse Prabhupada is paraphrasing here?
Vacho vegam manasa krodha vegam. Vacho vegam manasa krodha vegam.
Vacho vegam manasa krodha vegam. Jihva vegam udaropastha vegam. Etan vegan yo vishehet dhiraha sarvam apimam prithvim sashishyat. That is a Goswami. And then Prabhupada writes, without becoming a Goswami, one can neither become a disciple nor a guru. And then Prabhupada says, one should not think of Brahmaji as a dead great-grandfather, as we have experienced on this planet. He is the oldest great-grandfather and he is still living. Narad is also living. The age of the inhabitants of Brahmaloka is mentioned in Bhagavad Gita. So Prabhupada gives that they are all there. It is not that they are dead and gone. They are present. Everybody is still there living. Because all these personalities, they live for the entire life of Brahma. Narad Muni also. Then he says that this Bhagvatam, which is this scripture, which is called as Bhagvatam, it was described by Supreme Lord, to Brahma. And then Brahma described to his son Narada. And Narada described to Vyasdev. Vyasdev described to Shukdev Goswami. And then Shukdev Goswami is telling to Parikshit. Tasmaidam Bhagavatam.
Idam Bhagavatam.
Puranam Dashalakshanam.
Puranam Dashalakshanam.
Proktam Bhagavata Praha.
Proktam Bhagavata Praha.
Sritah Putraya Bhutakrit.
Sritah Putraya.
Thereupon, supplementary literature, Srimad Bhagavatam, which was described by the personality of Bhagavatam, and which contains 10 messages to the
So, Tasma Idam Bhagavatam. Thereupon, this Bhagavatam. Bhagavatam is the glories of Lord, which is Puranam. This Purana called Bhagavata has 10 Lakshanam. It has 10 characteristics. So, this Bhagavatam was told, Praha. It was told with satisfaction by father to his son. Brahma, he spoke this Bhagavatam to his son Narad with great satisfaction. Proktam Bhagavata Praha Pritaha, in satisfaction. Bhutakrit. Bhutakrit means Brahmaji. So that's how Brahma, in the beginning of the creation, he also spoke this Bhagavatam to his son Narada when he asked him the questions. So Prabhupada writes in the purport that although Bhagavatam is spoken in 4 verses, it had 10 characteristics that will be explained in the next chapter. And then it starts with Janmadi Asya. The Lord is the root of everything. That's what Prabhupada writes. And then Prabhupada says, one should not misunderstand by wrong interpretation of the Lord. By the wrong interpretation that the Lord spoke only 4 verses and rest all the 17,994 verses are useless. No, it is not like that. Somebody may say, "Hey, 4 ही बोला था ना, तो भाई इतना सारा इतना बाकी 17,000 क्यों पढ़े? 4 पढ़ लेंगे हो जाएगा." No. The 10 characteristics will be explained in the next chapter. Require so many verses just to explain them properly. So this Chatushlok is like a condensed Bhagavatam. It is like cotton ball. Last time also we had discussed. It is like a cotton ball. It can be compressed to a very small ball and it can be elaborated to become a huge thing. That is Bhagavatam. And Brahmaji also advised Narada that he should expand the idea. Tvametad vipuli kuru. That's what Brahmaji had told Narad Muni after describing all this. Tvametad vipuli kuru. You explain this, you distribute this. And similarly, Mahaprabhu instructed this to Rupa Goswami. But the disciple, Narad Muni, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instructed to Rupa Goswami in a nutshell. And Rupa Goswami elaborated it. And then further it was elaborated by Jiva Goswami and further by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. And Prabhupada says, we are also trying to do similarly, further elaborating. That's why every Acharya, he adds on, he adds his own realizations. That is actually Puran. To present a knowledge according to the time, place, circumstance. That is Puran. You will not see in other Acharya commentaries a social commentary. Social commentary means Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he never wrote anything about the social scenario of his times. But Prabhupada does that. He talks about so many of the political issues happening. In few purports, Prabhupada talks about India-Pakistan war, which is happening, India-China war, which is happening, political situation of the world. So this is the, these are the realizations and commentaries given by Prabhupada so that people can accept this knowledge. So that's how every Acharya, he presents the knowledge in such a way that it is acceptable for people in general. And then Prabhupada writes, Srimad Bhagavatam, being the sound representation of the Lord, is simultaneously explained in 4 verses and in 4 billion verses, all the same. Okay, so then Narad Muni was instructed by Brahmaji. Then Brahmaji instructed to Vyasdev, which we discussed in the first canto, 5th chapter. Narad Muni came and chastised Vyasdev and instructed. He also instructed in very brief. And he said, you know everything. I'm just instructing you, in short. Now you explain it. Naradaha praha munaye.
Naradaha praha munaye.
Saraswatyastate nripa.
Saraswatyastate nripa.
Dhyayate brahma paramam.
Dhyayate brahma paramam.
Vyavasayamita tejase.
Vyavasayamita tejase. In succession, O king, the great sage Narada instructed Srimad Bhagavatam unto the unlimitedly power Vyasadeva, who meditated in devotional service upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the absolute truth, on the bank of the river Saraswati.
So that's what Narad Muni instructed to Brahma, who is all powerful. Vyavasaya amit tejase. Vyasaya amit tejase. Vyasaya. So Vyasdev is unlimitedly powerful. So Prabhupada writes, 1.5, Srimad Bhagvatam, Narad Muni instructed Vyasdev, Atho Mahabhag Bhavan Amoghadrik. Vyasdev is Amoghadrik. Shuchi Shrava, Satyavrata, Dhritvrata, Urukramasya Akhila Bandha Muktaye, Samadhinanu Smaratad Vicheshtitam. So you have so many good qualities. Now what you should do? You meditate on the qualities of Urukrama and you explain it. So that is the parampara. That is, Prabhupada says, that is Brahma Sampradaya. Brahma instructed Narada, Narada instructed Vyasdev, and that's how parampara is going on. And then Prabhupada writes that there are some people, all the impersonal and Mayavadis, they say Brahman has no activities, Brahma is Nirgun, Nirakar, but Supreme Lord has many activities. He is Urukrama, he has wonderful activities. They are all transcendental, they have no material quality, they are beyond all the modes. Etadishanam ishasya prakriti sthopi tadgunai na yujyate sadatmasthir yatha buddhi tadashraya. Although Lord engages in so many activities in this world, personally, he never gets affected by any of it. So that is the wonderful quality. And then Prabhupada quotes Param Brahma, Param Dhama, this Bhagavad Gita. So then Prabhupada says that when Vyasadeva fixed his mind in meditation, he saw Krishna and he saw Maya standing behind Krishna. Which verse? Anyone remembers the verse? Vyasadeva saw Krishna and Maya also standing behind. Bhakti yogena manasi samyak pranihite amale apashyat purusham purnam mayam chatad apashrayam. That's how he saw the Lord and he saw the energies of the Lord. And then he explained everything. Then last verse. Yad utaham tvaya prishto
Utaham toya
Vairajat purushadiham
Vairajat
Purusha Veda
yathasi tadupakyaste prashnananyam shakritsnashah.
O King, your questions as to how the universe became manifested from the gigantic form of the personality of Godhead, as well as other questions, I shall answer in detail by explanation of the 4 verses already mentioned. Hare Krishna.
So your questions about the universe, I'll be answering, and I shall answer everything in detail. And I will base my explanation on the 4 verses which Lord told to Brahmaji, Chatushloki. Prashnan Anyam Chakritsnasha. I'll explain all the other questions also in detail. So that is the end of this chapter. And then the last chapter of 2nd canto, Bhagavatam is the answer to all questions. So in last verse, in 44th verse, Shukadeva Goswami said that Brahma recited Bhagavatam, which has 10 topics. So in this chapter, 10th chapter, Shukadeva Goswami describes those 10 topics. And then in this chapter, again the description of the universal form comes. Okay, so then the first verse. Shri Shuka Uvacha
Shri Shuka Uvacha
Atra Sargo Visargascha
Atra Sarga Visargosha
Sthanam Poshanamutayah
Sthanam Poshanam Utaya
Manvantare Shanukatha
Manvantare Tatha
Nirodho Muktirashrayah
Nirodho Muktirashraya
Dashamasya Vishuddhyartham Navanamiha Lakshanam
Navanam Eva Lakshanam
Varnayanti Mahatmanaha
Varnayanti Mahatmana
Shrutena Arthena Chanjasa
Shrutena Chandra.
Sri Shukadeva Goswami said in the Srimad Bhagvatam there are 10 divisions of statements regarding the following: the creation of the universe, subcreation, planetary systems, projection by the Lord, the creative impetus, the change of the manus, the science of God, returning home back to Godhead, liberation, and the Samambhava. To isolate the transcendence of Samambhava, the symptoms of the rest are described, sometimes with equivalence, sometimes with direct explanation, and sometimes by summary explanations given by the great sages.
Okay, so these are the 10 topics of Bhagavatam. In fact,
क्यों उड़ गई वंशी?
Hare Krishna.
Come here, इरेजर आपको यहाँ पर है.
These are 10 topics of not just Bhagavatam. These are the 10 topics of any Mahapuran. Any Mahapuran has to have all these 10 topics. So Srimad Bhagavat is Mahapuran. So it has all these 10 topics. What are the 10 topics? Sarga. Sarga means primary creation. Visarga, secondary creation by Brahma. Sthanam. Sthan means protection. Now, Sthan means the place. Poshanam. Poshan means the protection, the mercy of the Lord. Utayaha. Inclinations, the auspicious inclination and inauspicious inclination. Now, living entities have both these. Some have auspicious inclinations, some have inauspicious. And then Manvantara. In one day of Brahma, there are how many Manvantars?
14.
Okay, there are 14 Manvantars in one day of Brahma. So all these Manvantaras are described. And then there is Ishanu Katha also. Ishanu Katha means the stories of the Lord and the devotees of the Lord. And then Nirodha. Nirodha means destruction. Mukti, liberation. Ashraya, ultimate shelter. So these 10 topics, why they are described? Second verse is very important. Dashamasya Vishuddhi Artham. Dashama, what is the 10th topic? Ashraya. The 10th topic is a special one. To describe this 10th topic in detail, all the other 9 topics are described. Navanam iha lakshanam. And the great sages, they have described this. How do they accomplish this purpose of glorifying the 10th topic? In 3 ways. Shrutena, Arthena, Cha Anjasa. By telling the stories, by telling the allegories, and sometimes quoting the very, very wonderful, enlightening conversations like Jad Bharat and all that. So that's how 10th topic is glorified. Actually, Krishna is glorified all over Vedas. Vede, Ramayane, Chaiva, Purane, Bharate, Tatha, Adav, Ante, Cha, Madhye, Cha, Hari, Sarvatra, Giyate. Lord Vishnu is glorified everywhere, but he is not glorified exclusively. That is the difference. Exclusive glorification of Lord is not there. Bhavata anudita prayam yasho bhagavato amalam yenai vasho natushyeta manyeta darshanam khilam. Narad Muni tells Vyasdev, you have glorified, but not enough. Anudita praya, मतलब अच्छे से नहीं किया आप glorification. भगवान का यश, यशो भगवतो अमलम. So in all the other Puranas also, Lord is glorified. In 12th Canto, 12th chapter, 66th verse. Also it is described. The translation says, Lord Hari, the supreme controller of all beings, annihilates the sins of Kali Yuga. Yet other literatures do not constantly glorify him. That is very, very important, Other literatures, they do not glorify Krishna completely and sufficiently. So that's why Bhagavatam is made. I'll just share this verse. You can see this. Lord is telling, so this 12th canto, 12th chapter, 66th verse. He says, Kalimala samhati kalano kilesho. Harir itaratra na giyate hi abhikshnam. Abhikshna means constant glorification of the Lord is not there in all the other scriptures. Other scriptures do not glorify him constantly. Although he is glorified, but not constantly. Paripatito anupadam katha prasangaha. But Supreme Lord, appearing in his innumerable expansions, is abundantly and constantly glorified through this Bhagavatam. So this Bhagavatam is a very, very special literature which constantly and abundantly glorifies the Lord. So that's how Bhagavatam is glorified. And that's the purpose of the 10th topic. All these 9 topics to glorify the 10th one. That is the purpose of glorification. So just like, it is all the 9 topics of Bhagavatam. If you compare, just like in Radha Giridhari temple, the Lord is there standing, Radha Giridhari is standing. And he is all powerful, all effulgent, attractive Supreme Lord. From him, Brahman comes. But because our vision is not pure, we need lights. Although he is supremely effulgent, Krishna says there is no need of light in the spiritual world. Na tad bhashayate suryo, na shushanko, na pavaka. Lekin bhautik jagat mein, it is darkness. We need light. So therefore, in the altar of temple, there are so many lights which are put in strategic locations to illuminate various bodily parts of Lord. If those lights are not there, we will not be able to see Krishna properly. We can't appreciate the beauty of Krishna properly. Although Krishna is Akhilakoti Brahmanda Nayak and he is Sarva Saundarya Sangraham, he is Param Padam Bhushana Bhushanangam, but still will not be able to appreciate. So there, similarly, this 10th topic, it is independent. Ashray is independent. But still we depend on all the other topics so that the 10th topic is highlighted. That is the purpose of all the other topics. Purushavatar Katha is also to glorify Krishna. To tell us that ये जो पुरुषावतार हैं, he is the expansion of Krishna. Then our appreciation for Krishna will increase. So that's how we have to. In fact, at the end of the 5th canto, Parikshit Maharaj, Shukadeva Goswami says, the Purushavatar Katha is easy to understand than Leela-avatar Katha. कितने लोगों को लगता है ऐसा? Purushavatar Katha is easy to understand than Leela-avatar Katha. But actually, why he is saying like this? Because nobody can dare to imitate Purusha-avatar pastimes. कोई ऐसा बोलेगा, चलो हम भी एक यूनिवर्स बनाने का ट्राई करते हैं, चलो बन जाएगा तो अच्छा है. No, nobody does that. Nobody can even think of doing that. But it is easy to imitate the Ras Leela pastimes of Krishna. So the more we understand Purusha Avatar, that this Purusha Avatar is the avatar of Krishna, then we'll be able to appreciate the pastimes of Krishna better. That's why all the 9 cantos are described and then 10th canto comes. So, when Vidurji meets Maitreya, he also requests him to speak about Krishna. So Maitreya says that, well, you have heard about Krishna a lot, right? from Vyasadev? Because you're son of Vyasadev, you must have heard a lot from him. He says, yes, I have heard about him, but who can be satisfied speaking about and hearing about Krishna? Paravaresham Bhagavan Vratani Shrutani Me Vyasamukhada Bhikshnam Atripnumashulla Sukavahanam Tesham Rite Krishna Katham Ritoghat. He said, I've heard a lot. I've heard about Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, but these katha have not satisfied me. And who can be satisfied hearing about Krishna? Kastripnuya Tirtha Padobhidana Satreshuva Suribiridyamana Yatkarna Nadim Purushasya Yato Bhavapradam Geharatim Chinatti. Who can be satisfied hearing about Krishna? This Krishna katha can cut off the bondage of material life. Geharati Chinatti. Geha means ghar. The attraction to home will be destroyed. So all the topics of Bhagavatam are written to glorify Krishna exclusively. So then after saying this, he starts giving the description of the 10 topics of Bhagavatam. So in third verse, he describes Sarga and Visarga. Bhutamatrendriya Dhyam
भूतमात्रेन्द्रियाधियम्
Janma Sarga Udaritah
जन्मसर्ग उदारतः
Brahmano Guna Vaishamyad
ब्राह्मणो वैष्ण्यात्
Visarga Paurusha Smritah.
विसर्ग पौरुषः स्मृतः. The elementary creation of 16 items of matter, namely the 5 elements, fire, water, land, air, and sky, sound, form, taste, smell, touch, and these eyes, ears, nose, tongue, skin, and mind, is known as sarga, whereas subsequent resultant interaction of the modes of material nature is called visarga.
Okay, Sarga Udaritah. What is called as Sarga? The manifestation, Janma of what? Bhut, Matra, Indriya, and Dhiya. Bhut means the material elements. Matra, the Tanmatras. Senses, Indriya. Dhiya means the false ego and Mahatattva. So these appear when Brahmano Guna Vaishamya, when the Lord transforms the gunas by his glance, when the Lord glances on Prakriti and impregnates it with Kala, Karma and Jivas, then under the influence of the modes of nature, the further cycle reaction starts and all these things form. That is called as Sarga. What is Visarga? Visarga Paurusha Smritaha. So Paurusha Smrita means when that Purusha, Brahmaji, whatever bodies he created, that is called as Visarga. So primarily, if we see closely, all these 10 topics are there in all cantos. But prominently they are there in some cantos. So Sarga and Visarga. Sarga is there prominently in 2nd canto and 3rd canto. Visarga is there in 4th canto and also partially in the 3rd canto. So that's how, all these topics are described starting with Sarga. So Prabhupada writes in the purport, in order to explain 10 divisions of Bhagavatam, there are 10 continuous verses. So in the next paragraph, Prabhupada, he focuses on the fallacy of the modern science by describing the word Shrutena. So the word used is in the 2nd verse, Shrutena, Arthena cha Anjasa. Shrutena, what is Shrutena? Somebody can read from there. 2nd paragraph, as mentioned in the previous verse.
As mentioned in the previous verse, Srutena, or with reference to the Vedic conclusions, the creation is made possible from the Supreme Personality of Godhead directly by manifestation of his particular energies. Without such a Vedic reference, the creation appears to be a product of material nature. This conclusion comes from a poor fund of knowledge. From Vedic reference, it is concluded that the origin of all energies, namely internal, external, and marginal, is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And as explained hereinbefore, the illusory conclusion is that creation is made by the inert material nature. The Vedic conclusion is transcendental light, whereas the non-Vedic conclusion is material darkness. The
Okay.
internal
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. So here, Prabhupada is writing, Shrutena. Shrutena means that which is referred in scriptures, given in scriptures. Vedas are Shruti. Shruti means heard. So the creation is made possible from the Supreme Lord by His direction. So if somebody wants to create without taking help of scriptures, it is not possible. And people, that's why scientists, they are getting bewildered. They are saying that we will create this universe, we'll create this bodies, we'll create living, and it's not possible. Prabhupada writes, illusory conclusion is that creation is made by the inert material nature, but it is not the case. The Vedic conclusion is that Vedic conclusion is transcendental light, whereas non-Vedic conclusion is material darkness. So when Lord impregnates his energy, then only creation starts. Without the help of the Lord, nothing happens. So that is the understanding. And then Prabhupada writes about, he says that, thus the original creation is directly from the Supreme Lord. So basically this entire process of sarga, visarga, it should make us think that this entire creation is so difficult, so complex. Why Lord is doing all this creation? To fulfill the independent mentality and desire of the living entity. So Jiva, everybody, he has Swatantra Ichha Shakti, and Lord never ever interferes in that. Every living entity has Swatantra Ichha Shakti, and Lord, he makes this entire creation to just facilitate the desire of living entities. And then Brahma also is helping the Lord by facilitating and creating all the bodies. So Sarga and Visarga shows that living entity has full control over their desires. And Lord does everything to fulfill the desires of independent living entities. So that shows the merciful nature of the Lord. He knows that 99% of the living entities will not turn to me, but still he gives them freedom. And of course, he gives Bhagavatam also, so that they can at least get a chance to rectify their independent mentality. Because under the influence of this material nature, living entities are beaten, thoroughly beaten. Sometimes going to higher planets, sometimes going to lower planets. Beaten under the influence of desire. It's like dog, pet dog, not pet dog, street dog. Shudparito yathadinam sarameyam griham griham charanvidinti yaddinam dandam modanam evava yatha kamashayo jiva bhute shucchavacheshvanu. He says, it's like dog goes sometimes to one place, he gets something to eat. Sometimes he is beaten. Similarly, the living entities, sometimes they get to eat. They go to higher planets, enjoy. Sometimes they go to hellish planets, they suffer. Lord does everything so that we can come to this one conclusion that I don't want anything. So the shift from independently enjoying to serving Krishna is the greatest shift a living entity has to make. And for that, Lord is doing everything so that living entity can come to this conclusion. Nanaka prishtam na chaparameshtyam na sarvabhaumam na rasadhipatyam na yoga siddhir apunarbhavam va samanjasatvam virahaya kangshe. This is a prayer by Vritrasur. This is prayer by Nagapatnis. This is prayer by Uddhava. This verse comes 3 times in Bhagavatam. Very special verse. 3 times this verse comes in Bhagavatam. Nanaka prishtam. I don't want the highest of the abode of Brahma. I don't want to become Brahma. Parameshtyam. Na sarvabhauma. I don't want sovereignty over everything. Na rasadhipatyam. I don't want rasatal also. Na yoga siddhi. I don't want all the mystic powers. What do you want then? I just want to serve you. So that is the understanding Lord wants to give to every living entity. That's why He is doing all this creation. So that we can understand Atma Mayam Rite Rajan Parasyanu Bhavatmanaha Na Ghate Tartha Sambandha Swapna Drashturivanjasa. It is all dream. ये नहीं समझता है. We try to enjoy the dream. Okay, so that is Sarga and Visarga. Then 4th verse is about Sthiti Poshanam. Sthiti and Poshan. Sthiti Vaikuntha Vijayaha.
Sthiti Vaikuntha Vijayaha.
Poshanam Tad Anugraha.
Poshanam Tad Anugraha.
Manvantarani Sadharma.
Manvantarani Sadharma.
Utaya Karma Vasana.
Utaya Karma Vasana. The right situation for the living entities is to obey the laws of the Lord and thus be in perfect peace of mind under the protection of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Manus and their laws are meant to give right direction in life. The impetus for activity is the desire for fruitive work.
Sthiti. What is Sthiti? Sthiti is Vaikuntha Vijay. So Sthiti, it means the position. That means the position of the Lord and the position of the living entity. Where the Lord should be, the Lord is always eager to protect His devotees. That is Sthiti. That shows Vaikuntha Vijaya. That shows the excellence of the Lord, Vaikuntha Vijay. And what is Poshan? Poshan means nourishing the devotees. That is mercy of the Lord, Tad Anugraha. Then Manvantara, there are various Manvantars described. And Uti means the impressions. These impressions, they take living entities to different bodies. Karma Vasana. Karma Vasanas are described. So the 6th canto describes Poshan by telling 3 stories prominently. Ajamil, Indra and Vritrasur. In all these devotees, they went through so many of the problems. But ultimately, they became perfectly situated. That is Poshan. Then Uti, auspicious and inauspicious inclinations. The 2 extremes are described. The extreme of auspiciousness is Prahlad. An extreme of inauspiciousness is Hiranyakashipu. And in between these 2, there is Varnashram. The 7th canto describes Prahlad, Hiranyakashipu and Varnashram. Very beautifully. Shukdev Goswami gives the whole range. Inauspicious, auspicious and beach ka jo bhi hai Varnashram. That is Uti. So Varnashram is a facility which the Lord gives to wipe out all these inauspicious inclinations living entity has. And then Manvantarani Sadharma, the conducts of the great kings to establish dharma. So what had happened in third canto, Shukdev Goswami, he speaks about Swayambhuva Manu's birth from Brahmaji, and then Swayambhuva Manu, he appears. So Parikshit Maharaj, he asks, oh, Swayambhuva Manu was such a great king, you know. He's Adi Rajasya Sattama, and he's Vishwaksena Ashrayo Hiyaso. He is a great devotee and he is the original king. I want to know about him. I want to hear about him. Can you please tell me about him and his descendants? So, as soon as Sukadeva Goswami hears this question, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, 4 cantos describe genealogical line of Swayambhuva Manu. एक मनवंतर का कथा 4 कैंटो तक चल गया. Just first manvantar. And then 7th was something different, because Parikshit Maharaj apparently asked about the partial nature of the Lord towards Indra. The Lord is partial to Indra, always favoring him. So in response to that, because Diti was overwhelmed with lamentation and anger because her 2 sons, Hiranyaksha, Hiranyakashipu, were killed. So then they were killed by Vishnu to help Indra. So Parikshit Maharaj bolte hain, wait a minute. We have heard that Lord is impartial. And here we are seeing that he is always favoring Indra. What is this? So to answer that question, entire 7th canto was spoken. So then in the 8th canto, are you able to, recollect what is happening? तो क्या चल रहा है? 3rd canto में एक क्वेश्चन पूछा, स्वयंभुव मनु के बारे में बताइए, उनके परिवार के बारे में. तो 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th canto उनका ही परिवार चल रहा है. 3rd canto देवाहुति, 4th canto Akuti and Prasuti. And then 5th canto, and then Uttanpad also. Akuti, Prasuti and Uttanpad. Uttanpad की फैमिली में ध्रुवा and Prachetas, उसके पहले ध्रुवा के बाद वेणा and क्या बोलते हैं पृथु महाराज, ये सब आ गए, प्राचीन बरी, प्रचेता. And then 5th canto पूरा उत्तानपाद का प्रियव्रत, story of प्रियव्रत. And then 6th canto also subsequent things. So Parikshit Maharaj asks, I asked you about Swayambhuva Manu and you spoke 4 cantos. I wanted to hear about all 14. अब ये एक के लिए आपने 4 कैंटो लगाया, अभी बाकी 13. So Shukdev Goswami said, अभी सबके लिए तो इतना elaborate नहीं बता सकते ना, टाइम नहीं अपने पास. So he summarized all the 13 manvantars in 1 canto. That is 8th canto. So he says that in 4th manvantar, Amshavatar was Hari. And Hari appeared to protect Gajendra. So Shukdev Goswami said, wait a minute, Gajendra Moksha is a very famous pastime. I want to hear. Lo, फिर पूरा Gajendra Moksha बता दिया. And then 3 chapters describe the story of Gajendra. And then he comes to 5th Manu. And in the 5th Manu, he describes. And then 6th Manu, he says, in the 6th Manu, Amshavatar was, because in every Manvantar, 6 personalities appear. Anyone knows the 6 personalities who appear in every Manvantar? We have discussed. Anyone knows? कौन से हैं? आप ही बता दीजिए.
Administrator, all these things, bro.
हाँ, मनवंतरम, मनुदेवा, मनुपुत्रा, सुरेश्वरा, ऋषयो, अंशावतारश्च हरे षड्विधम उच्यते. मनवंतर, एवरी मनवंतर में 6 लोग आते हैं, भगवान के अवतार होते हैं. Who are they? Manu, all the devatas. Manuputra, Sureshwara is Indra, the Saptarishis, and Amshavatar. So basically, Shukdev Goswami is describing out all of them. तो थर्ड मनु पे आए तो गजेंद्र अवतार बोल दिया. अरे गजेंद्र को बचाने के लिए हरि अवतार लिए. हो प्लीज गजेंद्र के बारे में बताइए. 3rd, 4th, 5th चैप्टर चला गया उसमें. एंड देन 5th मनवंतर, so Gajendra in 4th manvantar, then 5th manvantar, and 6th manvantar he said Lord appeared as Ajita, and Ajita helped in Samudra Manthan. Oh, wait a minute, Samudra Manthan, अरे बहुत interesting story है, वो बताएंगे? Please tell me about Samudra Manthan. Then 8 chapters describe about Samudra Manthan, and then this churning of the ocean and obtaining nectar, and then 7th Manvantar. And then he says, 7th Manvantar, Amsha was Vaman Dev, who took the kingdom from Bali Maharaj. Shukdev Parikshana, wait a minute. This is also a very interesting story. Please tell me about that. So 9 chapters describe the story of Bali Maharaj and Vaman Dev. So that is the whole 8th canto. So that's how this entire Bhagavatam is the expression of the eagerness of Parikshit to hear. Every time Shukdev Goswami speaks something, एक minute, pause, थोड़ा धीरे detail में बताइए, zoom in, that's how, he's so very eager. Okay, so that is Manvantar. Then 5th verse. So Prabhupada in the purport, he describes about all these things. Sadharma, Prabhupada elaborates on the word Sadharma also. What is Sadharma? Because the word used is Manvantarani Sadharma. Sadharma means perfect occupational duty. And there Prabhupada writes the perfect occupational duty is to become devotee of the Lord. 5th verse. Today let's see if we can complete आज तो नहीं होगा complete ये canto. Avataranucharitam
Avataranucharitam
Hare Shasyanuvartinam
Hare Shashanuvartinam
Pumsam Isha Katha Prokta
Pumsam Ishkatha Prokta
Nana Khyanopabrahmitaha.
Nanakhyanopabrahmitaha. The signs of God describe the incarnation of personality of Godhead and his different activities together with the activities of his great devotees.
Avatar Anucharitam. So, Manvantara Ish Anukatha. Ish Anukatha means the katha of the various devotees and the avatars of the Lord. Avataranucharitam Harescha. So the cha means the description of the devotees and description of the Lord. Harescha asya anuvartinam. Anuvartina means the followers of the Lord. And then Ishakatha. Ishakatha means the signs of God. They are described in different narrations. Nana Khyana Upabrimhitam. So that is the 9th canto. So, okay, this slideshow is going little detail. So, this is the 5th canto is Sthanam. So, Sthan means also it describes the creation pastimes. Describes the Bhumandal, the geography of this place. And in this Bhumandal geography, detailed description of various living entities are described. Basically, Bhagavatam, Shukdev Goswami is describing in a way that will increase the faith of living entities on the Lord. There are 3 types of response a person can give. Emotional response, when problem comes in life, somebody can give emotional response, somebody can give a political response, and a devotee gives a devotional response. Bhagavatam teaches us to respond in a devotional way. What is this devotional response? Emotional response means, अरे क्यों problem आ रहा है, रो रहे हैं, दुखी हो रहे हैं. Political response means, oh, this person is responsible for my problem. Because of him, I am suffering. Because of this problem. Devotional response means, see the hand of Krishna. why Krishna has put me in this situation. There must be something I can learn from this. Lord wants to bring me close to him. So the entire pastime of Parikshit Maharaj and Bhagavatam characters, they are to nourish this sentiment. That is Poshana. Poshan means the Lord is ready to bring devotees close to him somehow or other and nourish them. So the sixth canto actually shows how Lord is so very, we can say, partial to his devotees. He always protects his devotees. Ajamil had some connection with the Lord and he got the benefit, Okay, so that's how the eighth canto describes all these wonderful pastimes of Gajendra, then Manvantar, Samudra Manthan, then yes, there is another pastime of, in the Samudra Manthan only the Matsya avatar comes and Kurma avatar comes, not Matsya. Then this Ajita, and then this Ishanukatha. So Ishanukatha is described in great detail in the ninth canto. So just a minute. Yeah. And then sixth verse describes Nirodha and Mukti. What is this Nirodha? What is this Mukti? Nirodho asyanushayanam.
Nirodhasyanusayanam.
Atmanaha saha shaktibhi.
Atmana sah shakti
Muktir hitvanyatha rupam.
muktirhetanyatha
Sarupena vyavasthitihi.
Sarupena vyavasthitihi.
The
The
merging
merging
of the
of the
living
living entity along with a conditional living tendency with the mystic with the mystic lying down of the Mahavishnu is called the winding up the cosmic manifestation. Liberation is the permanent situation of the form of living entity. After he gives up the changeable gross and supple material body. Hare Krishna.
Okay, so this Nirodha, Atmanaha Anushayanam, Asya Anushayanam. So what is Nirodha? Nirodha means destruction or winding up. So what is winding up? When living entities, they merge in the body of the Lord. Sahashakti bihi. Sahashakti matlab with all the material energies, when everything enters the body of Mahavishnu. That is called as Nirodha. There are 4 types of liberation, 4 types of destruction. Anyone knows? 4 types of annihilation.
Nitya, Naimittika, Atyatika, and the Nitya, Naimittika, Atyantika,
and Prakritik. So Nitya means the continuous destruction. Some things are continuously getting destroyed in our body and in the world. Nitya. Naimittika. At the end of the day of Brahma, the lower planetary systems, Bhu, Bhuva, Swa, gets destroyed. That is Naimittika. Prakritika means at the end of the day of Brahma, the entire universe gets destroyed. Everything enters into the body of Mahavishnu. And Atyantika means when one gives up, destroys the material identity, false ego. And when that happens, that is Mukti. Mukti hitva anyatha rupam swarupena vyavasthiti. Prabhupada would quote this hundreds of times. This is a verse which is quoted by Prabhupada so many times. What is Mukti? Swarupena vyavasthiti hitva anyatha rupam. After giving up all the gross body, and the subtle bodies. And स्वरूपेण व्यवस्थिति, अपने स्वरूप में स्थित हो जाते हैं. What is that स्वरूप? Associate of the Lord. जीवेरा स्वरूप होए कृष्णेरा नित्यदास. So this mukti is described in 11th canto and nirodha is described in 12th canto. So mukti is described by conversation between Nimi Maharaj and Navayogendras. It comes in 11th canto. And there is a very special description of Uddhav Geet which comes in 11th canto. So these two discussions describe mukti. So that is 6th verse. Mukti hitva anyatha rupam swarupena vyavasthiti. So Prabhupada writes in the purport, there are two types of living entities, ever liberated and ever conditioned. Ever conditioned souls are apt to develop a mentality of lording over material nature, and therefore material creation is manifested to give the ever conditioned souls two kinds of facility. So the Lord is so very amazing. He gives facility to living entities, to everyone, two kinds. Facility to enjoy and facility to go back to spiritual world. Lord is not a cruel master. You won't get any enjoyment if you are leaving me. Lord says, no, you go and enjoy. Enjoyment is also given. But that enjoyment is not complete because we cannot be permanently happy in this material world. This material world is not made like that. So therefore, the Lord gives the facility to come back also. And Prabhupada writes about that. By reading and hearing about the scriptures, one becomes liberated. And that's why Lord sends Bhagavatam. Sukhaya karmani karoti loko nate sukham manyaduparamam va vindeta bhuya tateva dukkham yadatra uktam bhagavan vadenna. People do not know. People are suffering. They want happiness, but they get pain, they get trouble. People don't know why this is happening. So therefore, to bring them out of this, Yadatra Uktam Bhagavan, Vyasdeva has spoken Bhagavatam. Okay, so then the next verse. Abhasascha nirodhascha
Abhasascha nirodhascha
yatostya adhyavasiyate
चतुष अध्यवसयति
yastatro bhaya vichchedaha. Oh, sorry. Sashraya param brahma paramatmeti shabdyate.
The Supreme
One who is celebrated,
Supreme Being, or the Supreme Soul, is the supreme source of the cosmic manifestation as well as its reservoir and winding up. Thus, he is the supreme fountainhead, the absolute truth.
Okay, so that is the 10th canto, Ashraya Tattva. It's the Ashraya, that Ashraya, Bhagavan, from whom Yato Asti Adhyavasiyate, who is a source from whom arise Abhasascha Nirodhascha, from whom arises creation, maintenance, and destruction. That Supreme Lord is called as Param Brahma and Paramatma. Param Brahma, Paramatma, iti shabdyate. वो भगवान जो आश्रय हैं, he is called as Brahman and Paramatma also. That is the understanding. So Prabhupada writes about, he quotes this verse, Janmadiyasya yataha vadanti tattvatvidas tattvam yadjnanam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavan iti shabdyate. Prabhupada focuses on that. And then he elaborates how Krishna is Bhagavan Swayam. And because people, they do not know, so therefore Krishna appears as Srimad Bhagvatam to elaborate and to focus on this Bhagavan and to give living entities the chance to get liberated. And then Prabhupada quotes this Ishvara Param Krishna. So that's how this all these 10 topics are described. So from creation to destruction, everything is meant to focus on this 10th topic of Ashray. Just imagine if in Radha Giridhari temple, the Lord is not there. What is the use of all the lighting? Bhagavan nahi rahenge to light ki kya zarurat hai? Similarly, if 10th canto is not there, what is the need of all other cantos? So that is the understanding. Dashamasya Vishuddhi Artham Navanam Iha Lakshanam. Just to facilitate this wonderful 10th canto discussions, all these other 9 cantos are there. And then in the next 2 verses, Shukadeva Goswami explains Ashraya Tattva. So in 8th verse, he explains Paramatma Tattva. And in the 9th verse, he describes that how this Paramatma Tattva is the shelter of all. So, okay, we'll take a few minutes of break and then 5 minutes of break and then we'll continue. Hare Krishna. So, in 8th and 9th verses, it is described that Paramatma is the ashraya of the soul, and this Paramatma is superior to Adhidaivika, Adhibhautika, and Adhyatmika manifestations. So that is what is described in 8th and 9th verses. So we'll recite the 8th verse. So Adhyatmiko yam purushaha Sosav eva Adhidaivikah Yastatro bhaya vichhedaha
यस्तत्रो भयविच्छेदः
Adhibhautikah
पुरुषो यतिभौतिकः.
The individual person possessing different instruments of senses is called the Atmic person, and the individual controlling deeply of the senses is called Devik. The embodiment seen on the eyeballs is called Adhibhautik person.
So basically, what this verse is saying, this is a little cryptic verse. We have heard about these terms in creation, right? Adhibhautika, Adhidevika, Adhyatmika. So Adhibhautika means material elements and the tanmatras. Adhyatmika means mind and the senses. And Adhidevika means intelligence and the devatas. So the verse says, Yah Adhyatmiko ayam purusha. So the covering of the living entity, which is known as the subtle sense organ. Adhyatmika means the mind and the senses, the subtle. Actually, it is not different from Adhidevika. It is not different from the presiding deities of the senses. And Adhibhautik and Adhyatmik and Adhidevik, they are non-different from Adhibhautika. मतलब ये क्या बोल रहे हैं? It is little cryptic. So he says that what is Adhibhautika and Adhidevika and Adhyatmika, they are all same. So actually, this Purusha, Adhyatmika Purusha, Adhidevika Purusha, Adhibhautika Purusha, Actually, such Purushas does not exist. It is spoken in a sarcastic tense because the living entity identifies with the Adhyatmika body, Adhidaivika body, Adhibhaut and Adhyatmika body. He thinks that I am this body, I am my mind, I am my senses. So all these Purushas are actually, not existing. They are all dead. Adhibhautik, all the elements are dead. Adhyatmika, mind, intelligence, they are dead matter, no subtle body. Only soul is conscious. But because the living entity starts identifying with these Purushas, they are called as Adhidaivika Purusha, Adhibhautika Purusha, Adhyatmika Purusha. Actually, such Purushas, they are not there. Because Purusha means a living entity. These are not living beings. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur writes also that the covering on Jiva, known as the subtle organ, is not different from the presiding deity of the senses. And the division of the subtle sense organ and sense deity is not different from the gross organ of the material body. So two verses now show the difference between this Ashraya form situated as Antaryami within the all bodies and the individual Jiva. So who is the Paramatma who is situated in all the bodies as Antaryami? That is being described. So when it is said that it is Adhyatmic Purusha, is Adhidaivika Purusha, is Adhibhautika Purusha, that means the purpose is same. What is the purpose of Adhibhautika body? What is the purpose of Adhyatmika body? What is the purpose of Adhidaivika body? Adhidaivika matlab intelligence and the sense devtas. Adhibhautika matlab the material elements and the tanmatras. Adhyatmika matlab the mind and the senses. All these are meant for one purpose, to enjoy. All these bodies are there so that living entity can enjoy. So in that sense, he's saying, Shukadeva Goswami is saying it is all one. Because everything is meant for enjoyment only. Either you say Adhyatmika body, Adhidaivika, Adhibhautika, sab enjoyment ke liye bane na. So, for example, should we just describe in little detail so that we can understand kya chal raha hai. If you come to temple and you are getting late for prasad, so sometimes the devotee say, मेरा plate बना के रख देना ना, मैं थोड़ा late हो रहा हूँ, है ना, plate बना देना मेरा. तो some person will ask, जिसको बोल रहे हैं plate बना देना, तो उसमें चपाती डालूं कि राइस डालूं? यार कुछ भी डाला कुछ फर्क नहीं पड़ता है, सब एक ही है, कुछ फर्क नहीं पड़ता. So does that mean chapati and rice are same? Chapati and rice are not same, right? लेकिन वो क्या बोल रहा है, अरे चलेगा कुछ भी, सब कुछ फर्क नहीं पड़ता है. मतलब वो सब एक ही है. Purpose is eating something. कुछ तो खाना है मेरे को, कुछ भी डालो, चपाती डालो, राइस डालो, कुछ फर्क नहीं पड़ता है. Similarly, when it is said that Adhyatmika body is same as Adhibhautika body, is same as Adhidaivika body, means the purpose of all these bodies are same. What is that purpose? To enjoy. So that is the understanding. Okay, he continues in the 9th verse. एकम एकतरा भावे
एकम् एकतरा भावे
यदा नोपलम्भामहे
यदा नोपलम्भामहे
तृतीयं तत्र यो वेद
प्रियं तत्र यो वेद
इयं तत्र
स
यो
आत्मा स्वाश्रयाश्रयः.
स
स
आत्मा
आत्मा
स्वाश्रयाश्रयः.
सर्वाश्रयाः.
All three of the above mentioned stages of different living entities are independent. In the absence of one another, is not understood, but the Supreme Being who sees every one of them as the shelter of the shelter is independent of all, and therefore he is the supreme shelter. Hare Krishna.
Yada na upalabhamahe. He says, upalabhamahe means perception. He says, because we cannot perceive एकम एकतर अभावे. अगर इसमें से एक भी नहीं होगा ना, if gross body, अधि आत्मिका बॉडी और अधि भौतिक बॉडी और अधि दैविक बॉडी, इसमें से एक भी नहीं होगा ना, we will not be able to perceive other items. एक नहीं होगा तो दूसरा भी नहीं दिखेगा. Just like for example, eyes, there is a subtle eye, there is a gross eye, and the sense devata of the eye. Okay, so the gross eye is the eye which we see, and we can see the eyes. But the subtle eye is the eye which we cannot see. That is called the akshi, chakshu. Chakshu. Akshi is the gross eye. Chakshu is the subtle eye, and there is a devata for the eye. अगर इसमें से एक भी नहीं होगा तो बाकी चीजें काम नहीं करेंगी. All three has to be there. Tritiyam tatra yo veda. So there is an interdependence. मतलब everybody is dependent on other body. So that is the understanding. So therefore it is said, Prabhupada writes, they are interdependent. All these three bodies, they are interdependent. अगर ग्रॉस आई है लेकिन सटल आई नहीं है, वो काम नहीं करेगा. ग्रॉस आई सटल आई है बट देवता इज नॉट प्लीज्ड, काम नहीं करेगा. सटल आई है, देवता है, बट ग्रॉस आई ही नहीं है, तो व्हाट इज द पर्पस? That's how it is said, the purpose of enjoyment. Okay, does it make sense? समझ रहा है? अगर तीनों में से एक भी नहीं होगा तो बाकी दो का क्या फायदा? That's what he is saying. Interdependence है. If one is there, other two are not there, the person will not be able to enjoy. But he says there is one person who is independent of all these things, and he is the Supreme Lord. Swa Ashraya Ashraya. Very interesting word. Swa Ashraya Ashraya. He is the shelter of the shelter. आश्रय देने वालों का आश्रय है भगवान. And Prabhupada elaborates on this word. Swa Ashraya Ashrayaha. The ultimate source of all interdependence is Paramatma, who is not dependent on anything else. He is Swa Ashraya Ashrayaha. He is only dependent on himself. He is not dependent on anything else. Lord does not depend on anyone. He depends on himself. He is Swa Ashraya Ashraya. And then Prabhupada says that Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that he is the Purushottam Yasmat Ksharam Atitoham Aksharat Apicha Uttamaha Atoasmi Loke Vedecha Prathitaha Purushottama. Purushottam hai. He is Purushottam. Even accepting that there is no difference between super soul and individual soul, the individual soul is dependent on super soul for being liberated. So the living entities are always dependent on the Lord. Lord is not dependent on anyone. So Atma is dependent on Paramatma. But Paramatma is independent. So that is the understanding. Although we know that Paramatma is dependent on Bhagavan. Brahmano hi pratishtha. Because Paramatma is the manifestation of Bhagavan feature. It's a part of the Bhagavan feature. But here the difference is between Jiva Tattva and Vishnu Tattva. So Shukadeva Goswami is establishing that Ashraya Tattva is Paramatma by describing the hierarchy. तब जीव तत्व और विष्णु तत्व में विष्णु तत्व is the shelter. So that is the understanding. So this is the end of the description of the 10 topics. And from 11th, 10th verse onwards, Shukdev Goswami starts the description of Virat Roop again. So in 2.8.11, Shukdev Goswami, Parikshit Maharaj had asked about Virat Roop. So now this is the third description of Virat Rupa, again coming in the second canto. First description was in 5th chapter. Second description, 8th chapter. And then now the third description. Second description is in, first description is in 1st chapter. Second description, 5th chapter. And then third description is in this chapter, 10th chapter. And then 2 more descriptions will come in the 3rd canto. So this description has a purpose. Every time Virat Rupa is described, there is a purpose. What is the purpose of this description? In this description, we will see, as you can see in the Subodhini, it is said that Virat Rupa desired to eat and the gross tongue manifested. For example, Virat Rupa desired to see and eyes manifested. Virat Rupa desired to hear, the ears manifested. So basically, when it is said that Virat Rupa desired, that means the aggregate of all the living entities, Hiranya Garbha, we have heard earlier, Hiranya Garbha, it is the aggregate of all the living entities. That aggregate of the living entities desired, and based on the desire of living entities, the universe manifests. So basically, in a simple way, we can understand this individual body is the result of the individual desire. जो जैसी इच्छा करता है उसको वैसा शरीर दे देते हैं. That is the understanding. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he writes some very interesting commentary in this 10th verse, which is the beginning of the Virat Rupa description. Purusho andam vinirbhidya yadasau sa vinirgataha atmano ayanam anvichan apo sakshi shuchi shuchihi. Andam nirbhidya, Virat Rupa, Mahavishnu expanded and entered the universal shell. वहां से शुरू हो रहा है. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, why do you always speak about universal form? Why there is so little discussion of the Leela Avatar Katha? अरे इतना पुरुषावतार, जब भी पुरुषावतार चालू कर देते हैं, थोड़ा लीला अवतार बताइए, ऑलरेडी बोरिंग हो जाता है. Why always all this discussion? So Shukdev Goswami says, yes, you should observe, what you observe is true. But to whom should topics about the Leela Avtaras be taught with relish? किसको बताना चाहिए जो relish कर पाएंगे? Those who have perfected bhakti, those who are nitya siddha, they should be described Leela Avatar Katha. But those who are sleeping on the bed of the bliss of sense pleasure, and those who have fainted in the waves of suffering arising from karma, they cannot be woken up. Very poetically description दे रहे हैं वो. सो रहे हैं एकदम ऐसा, घोड़े बेच के बोलते हैं, और जो इतना मार खा के एकदम ऐसा बुरा हाल हो गया है, fainted. They will not get up by hearing all these pastimes. How can the pastimes of the Lord be taught to them? उनको कैसे बताएंगे? But this Purana, this crest jewel of Bhagavatam Purana is so merciful that it constantly attempts by some trick or other to wake them up. Somehow or other, Bhagavatam keeps waking up the sadhaka bhaktas. That's the glory of Bhagavatam. Mayam varnayito moshya ishwarasya anumoditaha Shanvata Shraddhaya Nityam Mayaya Atmana Muhyati. 2.7.53, Shukdev Goswami is saying that Anybody who hears the Purusha Avatar Katha, the Maya of the Lord, he will not be bewildered by the Maya of the Lord. For this reason, there is a repeated discussion of the Purusha Avatar Katha. Sun sun ke, the faithless will become faithful, and faithful will relish Krishna Katha because he will be purified. Nirmatsaranam satam. Because Bhagavatam is for everyone. Anarthopasamam shakshat bhakti yogam adhokshache lokasya ajanato vidvam chakre satvat samhita. People are suffering. Anarthopasamam, to destroy their anarthas. Bhakti yogam adhokshache. People do not know how to destroy, how to stop the suffering. Lokasya ajanato, lok nahi jante hain. That's why Chakre means he compiled, he wrote Satvat Samhita. What is this Satvat Samhita? Bhagavad Samhita. Bhagavatam is for everyone, but it is relished by pure devotees. So therefore, Bhagavatam gives everything. Purusha Avatar Katha also, Leela Avatar Katha also. So the primary audience of, who is the primary audience of Bhagavatam? Pure devotee or sadhak bhaktas?
Sadhak Bhaktas and other also.
So
Pure devotees.
the primary audience of Bhagavatam is the struggling sadhaka, because they need it most. And secondary audience is Paramhamsa, because that is feast for them. ठीक है, पेट तो भर गया, थोड़ा फीस्ट भी खिलाएंगे तो अच्छा है, लेकिन जो यहाँ पे भूखे प्यासे ऐसा अभी मर रहे हैं, उनके लिए भागवतम बहुत जरूरी है. इट इज द मोस्ट इम्पोर्टेंट लिटरेचर.
But pure devotee also relishes so much, na Prabhu?
He relishes ना, उनको भागवतम सुनाएंगे तो he will be in ecstasy. But not just Bhagavatam, he will be ecstasy in any discussion of the Lord. Yeah. Bhagavatam is specially meant for sadhak bhaktas. It is a medicine, Bhavaushadha shrotra manobhirama. Okay, 10th verse, Prabhupada writes in the purport some detail of the Purusha Avatar. We will not go into the detail of this, because now it is okay. So I think we can quickly complete this 10th chapter, because there is not much to be described. Lots of is creation pastime. So we'll just quickly go through the verses. So in the 11th verse, so he continues that Supreme Lord, he dwelled in the water. Garbhodakshaya Vishnu Andam Nirbhidya. Mahavishnu expanded as Garbhodakshaya Vishnu entered the universal shell, and the universal shell was lying there for 1,000 years. Then the Lord entered, and he was lying in the water, which he created from himself. Narayan, that is the meaning of Narayan. This verse gives the definition of Narayan. Narayan kisko bolte hain? The transcendental water created from the supreme Nara is called as Nara. And because he lies down on that water, he is called as Narayan. And then 12th verse, very similar. पहले भी आया है, पढ़ा है हमने. द्रव्य काल, द्रव्यम कर्म चकालश्च स्वभावो जीव एवच. Similar. So similar thing is described again. How Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, he entered, and from Mahavishnu, now he goes back. पहले Garbhodakshaya Vishnu बता दिया 10th में. Now he is going 11th में Garbhodakshaya Vishnu है, but 12th में he is describing Karanodakshaya Vishnu. We know ना, all this द्रव्य काल कर्म कहाँ से आता है? Karanodakshaya Vishnu से. So Shukdev Goswami is not going in the sequence. 10th and 11th he described Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. Now 12th he is describing Karanodakshaya Vishnu. And then similarly in the 13th verse he continues. The Lord, while lying down on the bed of his slumber, generated the seminal symbol, golden in hue. What is this? golden in hue. This is Hiranya Garbha. Hiranya means golden. And what is this Hiranya Garbha? It is the aggregate of all the living entities. So, pehle Mahavishnu, from him came Dravya, Kal, Karma, and Jiva. So, the aggregate of Jiva is called as Hiranya Garbha. And then 14th verse, he says, just hear from me how the potency of his lordship divides into the three: controlling deity, controlling elements, the controlled entities, and the material body. Similarly, similar. Adhi bhautik sharir, adhi daivik, and adhyatmik. Same thing is described. And then 15th, 16th verse describes the creation of Mahatattva. Anyone remembers Mahatattva in the mode of goodness is called as what? Mahatattva in the mode of ignorance is called as what?
Mode of goodness, mind.
नहीं Mahatattva, अहंकार नहीं बोल रहा हूँ. Mahatattva in the mode of goodness. And Mahatattva in the mode of ignorance is called as what? अरे Mahatattva in the mode of ignorance is false ego ना, अहंकार. अभी ये पीछे जाता हूँ, इसमें देखिए. हाँ, ये चार्ट फेमस चार्ट है, नोन चार्ट है. तो महत्त्व in the mode of goodness, passion, and ignorance. So Mahatattva in the mode of passion is called as Sutra Tattva. Mahatattva in the mode of ignorance is called as Ahankara. And from Ahankar, all the elements come up, right? So that is what is described in the 15th and 16th verses. From the sky situated within the transcendental body of Mahavishnu, sense energy, mental force, and bodily strength are generated. वही जो भी elements है ना, अलग-अलग नाम Prabhupada is saying. As well as sum total. महत्त्व आ रहा है, महत्त्व से अहंकार, from अहंकार, all the elements and tanmatras, mind and intelligence, prana, sense devatas, and all that. As the followers of a king follow the Lord, similarly, when the total energy is in motion, all other living entities move. And when the total energy stops endeavoring, everything stops. So that's how, when the Lord is active, everything starts. When the Lord is not there, everything stops. अभी वो universal shell बन गया, still nothing is happening. तो क्या किया सब sense devatas? What they did? Sense devatas, they have been created and the elements are formed, but कुछ हो ही नहीं रहा है, element ऐसे ही पड़े हैं. तो क्या किया? All the sense devatas, they prayed to Mahavishnu, right? And then Lord sent his energy, which is called as cohesive energy. Cohesive energy का नाम क्या है? Anyone knows? In Sanskrit, the cohesive energy is called as Bibhrat Shakti. Bibhrat Shakti means cohesive energy. So this cohesive energy binds all these elements, and then the universal egg, Brahmand, is formed. So then from 17th verse onwards, this is a simple equation which you can see in your Subodhini also. This equation is the way in which all the elements are produced. And the basis of all this is desire. Whenever it is said that the Virat Rupa desired, that means the aggregate of all the living entities, when they desire, then everything starts. Okay. So from 17th to 30th verse, all this creation is described. So when the Lord desires to eat, then the gross sense organ is generated, and from the gross sense organ, subtle sense organ, and the Devata generates, and then the bodily activity starts. So we'll not go into the detail of all this. So this will go on from 17 to 30 verse, and that results in creation of everything, creation of the dhatu and the pran and everything. So in 33rd verse, he says, thus I have explained to you about gross Virat Rupa of the Lord. Beyond this gross form is a subtle form which is invisible, without beginning or end. So beyond gross is a subtle form. But when he says, the wise people, they are not attached to the gross and subtle form of the universe, because they are both made up of Maya. The gross form of the universe, the universal planetary system, material energy, and the subtle form is also material. So a devotee is not interested in all this gross and subtle. He is interested in Shuddha Sattva. He is interested in the forms of the Lord, Ram, Krishna, Narasimha. That is how it is. And then so this 33rd is a very Etad Bhagavato Rupam Sthulam Te Vyayritam Maya Mahadadibhischa Varanair Ashtabhir Bhiravritam. So all these forms are created, and then he says that neither of the above forms, they are accepted by pure devotees, because pure devotees, they are not attached to the universe at all, either gross form or the subtle form. Kya zarurat hai? They are interested in the original transcendental form of the Lord. And Prabhupada quotes this verse from Bhagavad Gita where Arjuna is saying, I cannot see this universal form. Please appear in your Saumya Rupa. And then from 36 onwards to 47, the Visarga is explained. What is Visarga? The Visarga is the creation of Brahmaji. So how Brahmaji creates this universe? So somebody can read the 36th verse. Translation.
He, the personality of Godhead, manifests himself in a transcendental form, being the subject of his transcendental name, quality, pastime, enterprise, and transcendental variegatedness. Although he is unaffected by all such activities, he appears to be so engaged. Hare Krishna.
So that Supreme Lord manifests himself in a transcendental form. So that Supreme Lord, although he is manifesting all this gross body, subtle body, but he has the original form, unaffected. The form of the Lord in the spiritual world, where he performs his pastimes. His transcendental name, form, quality, pastimes, they are unaffected. Lord is Nirguna. Nirguna means not affected by material things. Etadishanamishasya prakritisthopi tadgunaina yujyate sadatmasthai yatha buddhi tadashraya. Lord is not affected. And then Prabhupada writes, he quotes the verse, Namam karmani limpanti name karma phale spriha. All this activity does not bind me. Lord is never affected by any of the activities. And then from 37 to 40, Shukdev Goswami says, he describes the various species created based on their karma. So he says that, O king, know from me, all living entities are created by Supreme Lord according to their past deeds. That includes Brahma. So Brahma ji se leke jo bhi creation hua hai, they are all created according to their past karma. And Prabhupada writes in purport about that, that all the various bodies are given by the Lord, given by material nature. Lord is the controller and material nature is providing everything, all the ingredients for different types of body. Sarvayonishu kaunteya murtaya sambhavantiya tasam brahma mahad yoni aham bija pradah pita. So that's how the Lord is the seed of everything. And Prabhupada says that based on the karma a person performs, sometimes he goes to upper planetary systems, sometimes he goes to lower planetary systems, and that's how he is moving around. Urdham gachanti sattvastha, madhya tishtanti rajasa, jagannoguna vrittistha, adho gachanti tamasa. Prabhupada writes that also. And Prabhupada gives an example that no one can be happy in a prison. Somebody may be a first class prisoner, second class or third class prisoner, but prison is prison. कितना भी मजा कर लो prison में, prison is a place where you don't want to stay, you want to come out of the prison. So in this material world, wherever you go, it is a prison. And in this material world, there are various types of destinations achieved based on different types of actions. And what drives these actions? The modes of nature. So 41st verse describes, we'll recite this 41st verse. Sattvam rajas tama iti
Sattvam rajastama iti
tisra sura nrinarakaha
Tisrasura
tatrapeka ekasho rajan
Tatrapeke Kashorajan
yaddaekataro nabhyam स्वभाव उपहन्यते.
Shobhava upahanyate.
According to the different modes of material nature, the mode of goodness, the mode of passion, and the mode of darkness, there are different living creatures who are known as demigods, human beings, and hellish living entities. Looking even a particular mode of nature being mixed with the other two is divided into three, and thus each kind of living creature is influenced by the other modes and acquires its habits also.
So based on the different combinations, permutation combination of sattva gun, tama gun, and rajogun, different living entities they appear in this world. Prabhupada writes, if one is in good association, he can develop mode of goodness. In bad association, he'll be in the mode of darkness. Nothing is stereotyped. One can change his habit by association. The best association is a service to devotees of the Lord. That is the best association. And by that association, one can become qualified man and get the grace of the Lord. So that's how, the best association is the service and association of devotees. Various examples given. Bhagavatam is full of such examples. Narad Muni's past life got association of Bhaktivedantis, became pure devotee. Narad Muni became Narad Muni. Ajamil, he was destroyed by the association of prostitute, and he was given second chance just by chanting the names. Bhat seva dwaram ahur mukte tamo dwaram yoshitam stangi sangam. So that is how Prabhupada describes in detail about association. He tells the story of Ajamil there. He was the son of a Brahmana, educated, but he was corrupted by association of prostitute. In the 42nd verse, he continues that the Lord maintains everyone in the form of Vishnu. Saivedam Jagadhata.
Saivedam Jagadhata.
Bhagwan Dharma Rupadrik.
Bhagwan Dharma Rupadrik.
Pushnati Sthapayan Vishwam.
Pushnati Sthapayan Vishwam.
Tiryan Nara Suradibihi.
Tiryan Nara Suradibihi. He, the personality of Godhead as the maintainer of all in the universe, appears in different incarnations after establishing the creation, and thus he reclaims all kinds of conditioned souls among the humans, the non-humans, and demigods.
Okay. So first he creates, then he maintains, and then as Shiva, he destroys also. That is what he tells in the 43rd verse. Ya tatah Kal Agni Rudra, in the form of Kal Agni. That Kal Agni is Rudra. So at the end of the millennium, what happens? This Rudra in the form of Agni destroys everything. Sanniyachati tatkale ghananikam ivanilaha. And this will dissipate, annihilate the complete creation as the wind displaces the cloud. It's like the wind completely destroys the cloud, scatters it everywhere. Similarly, Rudra, the Lord in the form of Rudra, destroys everything. So that is the understanding. So Prabhupada in the purport describes how the Lord, he creates, maintains and destroys. He quotes verses from Bhagavad Gita, and people think that I will create this, I will do that, but don't realize that everything will be destroyed by time factor. Prabhupada writes, the fruitive actors in the material world are very enthusiastic in the creation of big enterprises, big houses, big empires, big industries, and so many big things out of energy and ingredients supplied by the material agent. With such resources and at the cost of valuable energy, the conditioned soul creates, satisfies his whims, but unwillingly has to depart from all his creations. Bhutva bhutva praliyate. So that is the reality of the world. Whatever we may do, whatever creation we may do, ultimately everything will be destroyed. So therefore, it is a hope Lord is giving to all such living entities. Prabhupada writes, all these people, they waste their energy, and Lord is giving the information that there is a better place where there is no destruction. It is Akshara. Tasmat paras tasmatu bhavo anyo vyakto avyaktat sanatana. Or there is another world which is avyakta sanatan. Go there. There is no death, no birth, no death, no disease. So that's what a living entity should aspire for, to go to that place. And then in the 44th verse, he says, Itham bhavena kathito
Itham bhavena kathito
Bhagavan Bhagavatamaha
Bhagwan Bhagavatamaha
Itham bhavena hi param
Netham
bhavena hi param
Drashtum arhanti surayaha.
The great transcendentalist does describe the activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but the pure devotees deserve to see more glorious things in transcendence beyond these features.
So most people, itham bhavena, most people, they are attracted to this creation and destruction. They see only this. वो संसार में ही पड़े रह जाते हैं और वो देखते हैं Lord is a creator. Pure devotees are not so interested in that. They see Lord beyond this creation. They see the spiritual abode of the Lord. They want that. They want Vaikuntha. Prabhupada writes about that in the purport. Devotee is not interested in this creation. He is interested in spiritual world. Prabhupada writes that such pure devotees, however, do not see the Lord only as the creator, but also as the person who enjoys his activities in the spiritual world. Okay, the devotees know that Lord is the creator. Most of the people in this world, this word Jagadish, Jagadishwara. This is very famous, right? You know, बहुत famous word है Jagadish. Om Jai Jagadish Hare. So most people, they call the Lord by this, name, Jagadish. But devotees are more interested in calling him by, his intimate names. Yashodanandan, Nandanandan, Giridhari, all these spiritual names in which he performs his pastimes in the spiritual world. And therefore, Prabhupada says that pure devotees of the Lord thus undergo a practice of that devotional service during the manifestation of creation and take full advantage of the manifestation by qualifying themselves to enter into the kingdom of God. So devotees, they take advantage of this creation and they prepare themselves to go to the spiritual world. So it is apprenticeship. Prabhupada tells in one of the lectures that this sadhana bhakti is apprenticeship, in which a devotee learns to practice raganuga bhakti. जीवन भर apprenticeship नहीं करेंगे ना. Apprenticeship is for the small time. So raganuga is the actual service which we have to do in the spiritual world. But for that, we have to qualify. That is called as sadhana bhakti. And sadhana bhakti is what? While staying in this world, use your senses to serve the Lord. Kriti sadhya bhavet sadhya bhavasa sadhana vidha nitya siddhasya bhavasya prakatyam riddhi sadhyata. So that's how Prabhupada describes that. Bhaktya mam abhijanati, only devotee can understand me. The highest, glorious association with the Lord is made possible in the planet of Goloka Vrindavan, where Lord enjoys with gopis. 45th verse. Nasya karmani janmadau
नास्ति कर्मणि जन्मादौ
parasyano vidhiyate
परस्यानु
Parishyanu
kartritva pratishedhartham
Kartritvam Pratishedhartham
mayaya ropitam hitat.
माया
Ayayo
There is no direct engineering by the Lord for the creation and destruction of the material world. What is described in the Vedas about his direct interference is simply to counteract the idea that the material nature is the creator.
So whenever it is said Lord is a creator, Lord is a maintainer, Lord is a destroyer, we should understand Lord never ever personally does it. And why it is spoken like that? Because some people say material nature is the creator, material nature is the destroyer. Just to counteract that idea, very clearly it is said Lord is the creator, Lord is the maintainer. Lord doesn't do it himself, right? He has his agents doing it. But just to clarify things, just to make it clear that he is the controller. Maya adhyakshena prakriti suyate sacharacharam. Prabhupada quotes a few verses from Chaitanya Charitamrita. He says, Ataeva Krishna Mula Jagata Karan Prakriti Karana Yeche Ajagalstan. Very interesting example. Ajagalstan. On the neck of goat, you will see something hanging. They look like nipples. But if somebody says, I'll get milk from them, no, you cannot get milk from those nipples. Similarly, it is said, it seems that Prakriti is giving rise to all these creation. But we should understand who is giving seeds. Another example is given, Prabhupada would tell that people say scorpions are taking birth from the heaps of rice. Is it so? No. Some mother scorpion laid the eggs, and the eggs, they mature and they give birth to scorpions, and they are coming out of the heap. So ignorant person thinks that, just see, rice of heap of rice is giving rise to scorpion. That's why when Prakriti gives rise to so many things, people say Prakriti is the creator. But who is sowing the seeds? So that is the understanding. Okay, so then after describing this, he answers in summary, Shukadeva Goswami answers in summary the one question of Parikshit Maharaj. Parikshit Maharaj had asked about Kalpa. Please speak about Kalpa and Vikalpa and how time is perceived in past, present, future. So he had asked in 12th verse, 2, 8, 12. Shukdev Goswami summarizes that in this last section. He gives the summary of Sarga and Visarga. Very simply, in 46th verse, he says, Ayam tu Brahmana kalpaha
अयं तु ब्रह्मणा कल्पः
Savikalpa udharitaha
सविकल्पः उदाहृतः
उदाहृतः
Vidhi sadharano yatra
विधि साधारणो
यत्र
Sarga prakrita vaikritaha.
प्राकृतवैकृताः.
This process of creation and annihilation described in summary herein is a regulative principle during the duration of Brahma's one day. It is also the regulative principle in the creation of Mahat, in which the material nature is dispersed.
So this is a summary of Sarga and Visarga. Sarga means that which happens at the beginning of Brahma's day, of Brahma's life. That is Sarga. And Visarga means that which happens at the beginning of Brahma's day. So at the beginning of every day of Brahmaji does secondary creation because everything is destroyed. All the bhuvar swar gets destroyed. So Brahma has to again do creation. That is called a secondary creation. So Prabhupada writes, there are three types of creation. Mahakalpa, Vikalpa and Kalpa. So Mahakalpa means the Lord assumes first Purushavatar, Karanodakshaya Vishnu, with all the potencies of Mahatattva and the 16 principles of creative matter. That is Mahakalpa. What is Vikalpa? Creation of Brahma and dispersion of material ingredients. That is Vikalpa. And then what is Kalpa? The creation by Brahma in each day. Creation of Brahma and ingredients, Vikalpa. Creation by Brahma is Kalpa. So therefore, each day of Brahma is called as Kalpa. And therefore, in 1 month, Brahma has 30 days. So every day has a different name. And you see, Prabhupada has given the names of all the 30 Kalpas. Very interesting. And then in 47th verse, he says, in future, I will explain you the measurements of time. Shukdev Goswami does that in the 3rd canto, 11th chapter. The chapter is entitled The Divisions of Time. And then he says interesting. ये बातें मैं बताऊंगा अभी पाद्म कल्प के बारे में सुनिए. परिमाणम च कालस्य कल्पलक्षण विग्रहम यथा पुरस्ताद् व्याख्यास्ये पाद्मकल्पम मथो शृणु.
The present duration of Kalpa of a Brahma is called the
translation.
Mahakalpa. Translation. O King, I shall in due course explain the measurement of time, the gross and subtle feature with the specific symptoms of each. But for the present, let me explain unto you the Padmakalpa. Hare Krishna.
So he's saying, I will explain about time later. Now I'll explain the Padma Kalpa. Padma Kalpa is the Kalpa in which the lotus flower comes from the navel of Lord Vishnu, Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. That is called as Padma Kalpa. Not in everyday lotus flower comes. That is very important to understand. हर डे में लोटस नहीं आता है. जिस डे में लोटस आता है उसको बोलते हैं पाद्म कल्प. And this kalpa, lotus had come. Therefore, this is called as Padma Kalpa. Prabhupada writes, the present duration of kalpa is called as Varaha Kalpa or Shwet Varaha Kalpa because Shwet Varaha appeared. So therefore, it is called as Varaha Kalpa. or Padma Kalpa, and it is testified by acharyas like Jiva Goswami. So that is the understanding. So this topic of Padma Kalpa, अभी वो बोलने वाले हैं, क्या बोल रहे हैं? अभी टाइम का बताऊंगा बाद में. Now I will tell you about Padma Kalpa. Now something interesting happens. All the Shaunakadi rishis, they are hearing the discussion from Suta Goswami. And as Suta Goswami says, Shukdev Goswami told Parikshit Maharaj, I'll tell you about Padma Kalpa. So all the sages say, wait a minute. ये जो बहुत थोड़ा ज़्यादा technical discussion ज़्यादा हो गया. You told us that in first canto, 13th chapter, you told us that Vidurji came back from pilgrimage. So please tell us about that. So Shaunak Rishi, he inquires about this in 48th verse. Shaunaka uvacha
Shaunako Vacha
Yadahano bhavan suta
Yadano
Bhavan
Bhavan
Sutta
Sutta
Shatta bhagavatottamaha
Shatta
Bhagavata
Charatirthani bhuvas
Chachara
Tirthani
Tirthani
Bhuvas
Bhuvas
Yaktva bandhun sudustyajan.
Yaktva Bandhum
Bandhum
Sudastasyan.
Sudastasyan.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Shaunak Rishi, after hearing all about the creation, inquired from Sutta Goswami about Vidura, or Sutta Goswami had previously informed him how Vidur left home, leaving aside all his relatives who were very difficult to leave. Hare Krishna Dandavat.
Wow. So he said, oh, you had told about Vidura, he left home, he went to pilgrimage, and then he came back. And then 49th and 50, they are saying, Shattu Kaushara Vestasya
Kshatru Kaushara Vestasya
Samvado Adhyatma Samshritaha
Samvado Adhyatma Samshritaha
Yadvasa Bhagavans Tasmai
Yadvasa
Yadvasa
Bhagavans
Bhagavan
Tasmai
Tasmi
Prishtas Tattvam Uvachaha
Prishtastam Uvachaha
Bruhinastad Idam Saumya
Bruhi
Saumya
Samya
Vidurasya Vicheshtitam
Vidurasya
Vicheshtam
Vicheshtam
Bandhutyaga Nimittam Cha
Bandhu Tyaga
Bandhutyaganittam cha
Nitram
Yathaiva Gatavan Punaha.
Yatheva
Yadeva
Bhagavan
Bhagavan
Punaha.
Punaha. Translation. Shaunak Rishi said, let us know, please, what topics were discussed between Vidura and Maitreya, who talked on transcendental subjects, and what was inquired by Vidura and replied by Maitreya. Also, please let us know the reason for Vidura's giving up the connection of his family members and why he again came home. Please also let us know the activities of Vidura while he was in the places of pilgrimage. Hare
Okay,
Krishna.
so sages of Naimisharanya headed by Shaunak Rishi, they are very inquisitive to hear some Leela. इतना टेक्निकल क्रिएशन ये सब सुन के सब लोग बोल रहे हैं थोड़ा सा स्टोरी सुनाइए ना, क्या हुआ, कैसे गए विदुर, क्यों चले गए घर छोड़ के. एंड so 3 questions he is asking. They are asking in 49-50. First is, he met with Maitreya, right? When two great souls meet, something wonderful must have happened. Because he is Bhagavatottama, the verse says 48, he is Shatta Bhagavatottama, Vidurai Shatta. A great devotee meeting another great devotee. क्या करेंगे discuss? कुछ तो कृष्ण कथा हुआ रहेगा. Please tell us that. And first of all, why Vidura left home? Because the home of Vidura was a pilgrimage place, because Krishna had come there. ये घर छोड़ के क्यों चले गए? वहां पे तो कृष्ण रहे थे ना. Why he left home? And then where all he went? चलो गए तो ठीक है, लेकिन कहाँ गए वो भी बताइए. So these are the inquiries which he is asking. So Prabhupada writes that all these sages, they were very, very inquisitive to hear and eager. Eagerness is a price one has to pay to get attracted to Krishna. So Prabhupada writes that the materialists are more interested in physical laws and how they are acting. And when they see wonders in those physical glamours, sometimes due to physical glamour, they forget the glories of the Lord. They are so attracted by the glamour of the world, they can't see the glory of the Lord. Prabhupada writes, they should know definitely that physical activities and their wonders are initiated by the Lord. सब कुछ भगवान से आ रहा है, समझना चाहिए. Art means artist, creation means creator, design means designer. Shaunaka rishis, they were really focused. And they, after hearing about the creator, creation, they wanted to hear about the creator and the devotee more. Prabhupada writes, the last few lines. The rishis of Naimisharanya, however, were above the gross materialists and the false transcendentalists. And thus they were very anxious to know the real truth in transcendental matters, as discussed by authorities. So that's how a devotee, he is not a foolish materialist who is interested in the world, all the material science, all these Discovery Channel, Geography, National Geographic Channel. They are interested in, absorbed in knowing the world. They forget the creator. They are absorbed in creation. They forget the creator. Devotee is not like that. And then, so this is the glory of the Srimad Bhagvatam. Suta Goswami, when he is asked by sages of Naimisharanya, please tell us about these pastimes. Interestingly, Suta Goswami says something very, very amazing. Suta Uvacha Rajya Parikshita Prishto
Rajna
Parikshita
Yad
Prishto
Avochan Mahamuni
Yad Avochan Mahamuni
Mahamuni
Tadvo Bhidhasye Shrunata
Tadvo Vidhasye Shrunata
Rajya Prashranusarataha
Rajya Prashnanusarata.
Sri Sutta Goswami explained, I shall now explain to you the very subjects explained by the great sage in answer to the king Parikshit's inquiries. Please hear them attentively.
The last verse where Suta Goswami is saying, amazing, what question you have asked. You know, आपने जो भी पूछा है ना, 3 questions, Maitreya and Vidur Samvad, and where all he went and why he left. Parikshit Maharaj, after hearing this entire thing, as soon as Shukdev Goswami said, I will speak about Padmakalpa, Parikshit Maharaj also stopped him. And he also said, please tell me about Vidurji. That is how the speakers and the hearers of the Bhagavatam, they are in sync. सब amazing है. मतलब ये बोल रहे हैं, ये बताएं, बोले अरे इन्होंने भी यही पूछा था, चलो बताता हूँ क्या बोला है उन्होंने. Same thing happens in the 3rd canto, in 25th chapter. 3rd canto, 25th chapter, when Kapila, Devahuti, and all, when Kardamuni left. So then Maitreya Muni, Vidurji asks Maitreya Muni, I have heard about teachings of Kapila Dev to his mother Devahuti. Shaunakadi rishis, first they ask, because that is a primary conversation, right? Shaunakadi rishis and Suta Goswami. तो शौनक आदि ऋषि सूत गोस्वामी को पूछते हैं, अरे आपने बताया कि मैत्रेय मुनि ने विदुर जी को बताया है कि कपिल देव एंड देवाहुति, now they are staying and Kardamuni left. We have heard that there is a wonderful discussion happened and Kapil Dev explained this Sankhya. We want to know about that. So Maitreya Muni tells Vidurji, Are Parikshit Maharaj also asked the same question to Shukdev Goswami. I will tell. So that is how, all the speakers and the hearers of the Bhagavatam are in sync. That is the last verse. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the second canto, 10th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Bhagavatam is the answer to all questions. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai, Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai.
Hare Krishna.
Next
Sunday exam, Prabhuji.
Next Sunday we'll be having exam and we'll
2-7.
begin with the third canto also.
अच्छा 2-7 will be the exam.
Yeah.
Prabhuji थोड़ा post कर देंगे थोड़ा translation में.
Yes.
Hare Krishna.
The details will be shared on the group, how to go about with the next module, because first and second canto was the first module, so the details will be put on the group. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki
Hare
Jai,
Krishna.
Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
God bless you.